Hi everyone, this is Shane R. Monroe, and today we're going to show you how to install Ubisoft Connect, download a bunch of games, and check them out, see how they look, maybe do a little optimization, play with 40 Hertz and some other good stuff. So let's go ahead and get started. Open up your browser. I'm using the Brave browser, but any browser will do. Hop on over to Ubisoft's website and download the Ubisoft software. It's called Connect now. You may have heard it called Uplay, but now it's called Ubisoft Connect. Go ahead and download that to your downloads folder. You can say I've already downloaded it once to set this video up, but we'll download it again. Okay, so now it's sitting in our downloads folder. Let's go ahead and close our browser, and we're going to open up Steam, and we are going to add a non-Steam game. We'll hit Browse. And then we're going to go to the downloads folder where that executable is. So you can use this drop down, select home deck, and scroll down to downloads. You'll have to change the file type from .desktop to all files and find the Ubisoft Connect install executable, which is right here. Add selected programs and go to your library, take a look, and you'll find down at the bottom Ubisoft Connect installer exe. So now we have to go in and tell it to run with Proton. I'm using GE Proton 7.17. Any GE Proton will do. Actually, pretty much any Proton, experimental Proton, all of those should probably work exactly the same. Don't freak out if you don't have GE Proton. So we're going to go ahead and run. Now, listen, attach a keyboard and mouse, please, I beg you. This works a lot better if you have a keyboard and mouse. So this window here, you're going to see how this weird flickering, this sort of weird thing happens when you're installing from these third-party things, and you can see that it hid itself behind. You'll end up fighting these dialog boxes, and I don't know why, but you'll fight them, they'll pop in and out. It's best to have them on the screen all by themselves. Okay, we're not ready to run it just yet. We've installed it, which is installed it in a Proton folder. So now, I'm going to go to my Overwatch launcher that launches Battle.net, and I'm grabbing these launch options right here. And you can copy these, they're in the description down below. And so we're going to change our connector, and I'll explain why here in a minute. So we're going to add this to our launch options, okay? And yeah, we should be good to go. Let me take one more look here, properties. Okay. So we're going to change away from the installation exe, and we're going to go find the Proton installed version of Ubisoft Connect. So we're going to go into home deck /locals/share, down to the Steam folder, and then we're going to go to the Steam apps folder, which I don't know why I always have such weird problems trying to find this thing, but it's in here somewhere. Just got to scroll around. There it is. And then scroll up and you will find the compat data. Now here's the hard part. You have to figure out which one of these goofy name folders is your thing. And even if we sort by date modified, it should have the newest one on top at some point, right? But it doesn't. So we have to look at the time of day that we're at, which is 5:53 p.m. And let's see if we can find one that matches May 12th at around 5:50. And there we go, 5:51. What a ridiculous thing to have to do. I don't understand why that doesn't sort right. Go to the PFX folder, go to Drive C, go to Program Files x86, Ubisoft and the Ubisoft Game Launcher, and we're going to look for the actual launcher executable itself, which is right here, Ubisoft Connect. Great. Now we should be ready to, instead of running the installer every time, now it should run the actual Ubisoft Connect client. Now sometimes it'll look like it's not working. See how you hit play and then it just said starting and then just went right back to play? This is normal. You're going to see weird things like this when using these third-party launchers, but as you can see, it did come in. Go ahead and enter your login details, and make sure you hit Remember Me. I know a lot of people, I don't want to remember, but trust me, your life will be a lot better if you just let these third-party launchers remember who you are. If you look in settings, yeah, nothing interesting to see there. Okay, no, I'm not ready to two-factor my account. And it does its initialization, and bang, we are running Ubisoft Connect. Perfect. Now, I've got some games that I've already previously installed on another drive on my Steam Deck. So we're not going to download 400 gigabytes of stuff. Instead, I'm going to point them to a folder that I've already downloaded these things before. Okay? So let's go through this. Here's FarCry 6. Now, I could hit download, right? And then we could download it to a location. Unfortunately, if we did that, though, it would try to download to the C drive, which is in the Proton folder we were just looking at. And unfortunately, there's no space there for me to install there. So that command that we added allows us to access the whole deck file system to choose somewhere else to put this, right? So right now, if the C drive's I don't have enough space there. So I have to save this out to my micro SD card or to my external hard drive, right? I've already saved these to my micro USB card, or my micro SD card. So if we go to Run, Media, the SD card, I've got these under High Seas, under Uplay. You can see FarCry 6. I'm just going to add it and say I've already installed it. It's going to discover the files. Bang, I'm good to go. Now we're going to do this a couple more times and add a couple of other games. But it's really important to note the launcher command that we added to Ubisoft Connect is what gives us the power to use this root directory to actually go out and find someplace else to put these files. Now the neat thing here is now we have our games separated from the Proton folder. So I could actually go in and remove Ubisoft Connect and all of my games are still sitting on the hard drive or on my micro SD card. That's why I'm able to do this now, because I walked through this whole process before shooting this video. I installed all the games, and now they're all safe and sound. I can back them up and restore them. I could point Ubisoft to another location, but the launcher command that we did at the beginning, that's what gave us the power to do this. All right, so now we've got some actual games to play. So let's get out of here. We're gonna go ahead and exit when we close Ubisoft Connect. Let's go back to gaming mode. I don't like running games over here. I really don't. Before we move over, though, we can rename this guy because it's really not the Ubisoft Connect installer anymore, is it? It's really Ubisoft Connect. Now, I know what you're thinking. If you wanted to make a dedicated launcher for one of those games, instead of actually launching the Ubisoft Connect client, you could do that, but that's a topic for a different video. Because all three of those games share a Ubisoft client. So it'd be very difficult to set that up in that way. But it's not impossible, it's just outside the scope of this particular video. All right, we're gonna go ahead and run ourselves back over to game mode, because this is where I think most people are gonna be executing these games from. I find that the games seem to perform better for me. The controls are all perfectly set up, right? So we're returning back to game mode here. And you'll notice, of course, that sometimes when you come back from the desktop, at least going through my Elgato, it kind of whacks out my aspect ratio there, my resolution. So I find if I unplug and replug in the HDMI, it'll fix everything, and there you go. Everything's back to the way it should be. Perfect. Let's go to the Steam menu, and we will go to our library. And if you said under non-Steam, we should see Ubisoft Connect. We do indeed. So let's go ahead and run it. Again, you could do this from the desktop side. I just prefer to do it from here. Okay, now we are good to go. There's our overlay, so you can see what's going on. Ubisoft Connect client fits in this window, but barely. And it's this is the part where you will need to use the touchscreen. I'm using a mouse, so you'll see the pointer, but you can use the touchscreen for all of this. You cannot use the controller though, so you'll have to use the touchscreen. Okay, so let's go. You see there's a lot of flickering and stuff. This seems to happen with all of these third-party launchers. Once the game is actually in progress though, everything is peachy keen jelly bean. So we're gonna go ahead and run FarCry 6. Now, even though I've already installed this before, right, and then I deleted the Ubisoft Connect Proton folder, or removed it from Steam, while the game is still technically installed in another location, it still has to go through this first run. You're gonna see it warming up the shader caches and all that stuff. So we'll have a couple of minutes here to hang out. You'll also notice there's an occasional flicker. You'll also see that the overlay just suddenly sort of hangs, and you're sitting there going, uh-oh, did the game die? Did it crash or whatever? You got to be patient. See, now we're back up, warming up the PSO cache here. And it'll do that countdown. As I recall, this only happens the first time you run it, which even though I installed the game and I've run it under Ubisoft before, Ubisoft Connect doesn't realize, because it's a new install, it doesn't realize that this game has been run before, so it's got to rebuild all this crap. It's great that we can access these third-party digital lockers. I'm not a fan of anything outside of Steam. I will actually pay more money to buy a game on Steam and not have to deal with third-party digital lockers like this. But I understand cheap and free is really hard to fight when it's just another icon on your desktop. But I treat it as sort of a religious thing, I suppose. I'm really opposed to you know, this diversity of IP handling. We see this in streaming services, right? It used to be Netflix and you were good. Then it became Netflix and Hulu. Then it became Netflix, Hulu, and Disney. Then it became Netflix, Disney, Hulu, and Peacock. And everybody's got to have their hand in the pie. And this is just more nonsense. It's not good for the consumer. Okay, enough of my religious prattle. Let's get into the game and see how well this works and see if we can affect a couple of immediate changes that might better improve performance. Now, we're going to be jumping into these games in progress. That way I don't have to go through weird tutorials or anything. And it also gives me an opportunity to kind of show you something later in the game where there might be a bigger area, that sort of thing. All right, here we go. Now, I would also like to point out that when we play with some of these settings inside these games, understand that we're in 1080p right now. This video is in 1080p. So what you're seeing something that's not necessarily perfectly representative of what you're going to see on the deck's screen, right? You're looking at a smaller screen, lower resolution, not stretched, right? So we're doing this for simplicity's sake, right? This is a lot easier for me to capture with my Elgato. But you know, shooting off screen, you would see that these games look they look fine in lower resolutions and lower settings. So the one thing I couldn't get rid of, and I haven't really tried very hard, is that Ubisoft Connect overlay that you see right there. The driver version of your enabled graphics driver is out of date. I'm sure there's a way to get rid of that. I just haven't figured out how to do it yet. And it doesn't go away on its own. Fortunately, only FarCry 6 so far seems to have that overlay. And for the purposes of this video, it's perfectly fine for that to be there for now. Okay, so here we are. And so this is pretty much like out-of-the-box configuration. And as you can see, you know what? For a $400 handheld, this looks actually pretty good. Now, there shouldn't be any, I wouldn't pay attention to any dialogue. There shouldn't be any spoilers in here. I don't remember there being when I recorded it. But still, you know, don't pay attention to the dialogue if you're at all concerned about ruining a later piece of the game. All right, so you can see how well that looked. We're going to jump over here and take a look at our options. And we're going to check out our video. All right, so first off, you should always be running in borderless windowed mode. And all this looks pretty good. Oops, I think I just screwed that up. Let's go back in again. All right, VSync is off. There's no frame rate limiting. We're leaving all of the adaptive resolution off at this point in time. That's something you may want to monkey with if you're running in 1080p all the time. But we're not gonna deal with it right now. We're going to assume that what you want to do is play on the deck screen. Now let's run around a little bit. And so right now we're getting 38 frames per second.
You think they took the C4?
And I believe we're in high settings right now. And this does look good. I mean, even in 1080p, we're running technically in 12 by 800, but you know, it's being stretched. We got some borders and stuff on it. Let's go back in here and double check. All right, so let's go back to video. All right, 1280 by 800, right? And okay, yeah, we're definitely in high. So we could, the first thing we could do is jump off of high and go to medium, right? Now, if we wanted to use FSR, we would try to reduce our screen resolution below native. Unfortunately, we couldn't seem to get that done. So no matter what I did, I could not get it to, I'm sitting here fighting with the controls. I could not get it to go less than the default resolution. That probably has something to do with that driver warning that's up there. So if we're going to want to play and try to get a little bit more performance out of this thing, we're going to have to go and start playing with quality settings. So let's go ahead and let's shift from high to medium and see what difference that might make. Okay, so 42, 43, 44. Well, yeah, I mean, it helped out, and I'm trying to see there's a good noticeable difference in the quality that we're looking at here. It's fairly acceptable. So at this point, we could, based on the frame rate that I'm seeing here, we could probably lock this into 40 FPS, right? We could do that. Okay. Enough looking at Far Cry. Let's take a look at Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And this isn't the newest, right? So Assassin's Creed, what is this? Ad pop-ups now? Get at it. Get out of here. I thought I turned these things off. Oh, well, there's no rest for the weary, huh? All right, here we go. Okay. So this is obviously not the latest Assassin's Creed. This is not Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but this is the version just before that. And Odyssey and Origin share roughly the same engine. In fact, it almost looks like a cut and paste job between the two games. So I'm showing Odyssey, but if you have Origins, you're probably going to find that the game runs remarkably similar. So whatever sort of settings that you apply here will probably be good for you in Origins as well. I actually think Origins is slightly a better game, better story than Odyssey. But, you know, after playing Origin for that long and then jumping into Odyssey, it's kind of like, eh. So that overlay, we need to get rid of that, and we're going to do that later in the video. Any sort of overlays you want off of these games. It can do nothing but harm your overall quality. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump in here. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to see how it performs. We're going to see if we can tidy up and make it a little bit better. And I don't know why it takes forever. Okay, here we go. Good. All right, so we're just going to continue from the last place that I started from, which I think was a loaded game from in the middle of nowhere. So it'll be perfect. I won't be in combat. There won't be a headhunter coming after me, right? So we'll be able to just run around and sort of experience. Now, you noticed in Far Cry 6, it warmed up the caches, right? So what we have there, we didn't see any real stuttering as we ran around. So with Steam Deck, with Steam native games, they have shader caches that download, sometimes every day to piss everybody off. But in the case of these third-party games like this, there is no shader cache up front. So while Far Cry 6 built some shaders for us, this does not. And you will definitely see a difference between sort of what I call the first run or warming up the shaders. You will definitely see a difference here. Okay, so here we go. Okay, well, we just had a whole bunch of frame rate droppage. So what we're experiencing here is initial shaders, right? So it's trying to build these things as it goes. It's not preloaded. So we're going to run up here where I've not been in this session, right? And as we move around, it's going to be building these shaders. All right, and as we start to trod over a common path, we see everything smooths out because we've already been over here. We've already built these shaders. Now we're going to another area that we haven't been yet, and we start to take a couple of hits. This is normal. It's the way it is. And if anybody happens to have any brilliant ideas as to how to fix that or compensate for that, I would love to know, and I'd be happy to make a video about it and share it with the world. But that's kind of what we got going on. So let's take a look, as usual, what our settings are, right? These games don't auto-optimize or anything. I mean, it'll do some things on its own, but you always want to go in after one of these third parties. See, full screen, we got to get out of that. Borderless, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So it looks like we may have, no, we don't have any other resolutions to play with here. Nothing. All right, well, that's okay. So we're gonna have some black bars. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, 30 frames. It's not frame limited. We're good, good, good. Okay, not bad. Let's look at our graphics. Yeah. Oh crap! I don't think I saved them. Damn it. Go back. Yeah. See, they didn't save. All right, fix it. There we go. Borderless. Perfect. Yes. Apply and save. Yes. 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 Okay. Great. I think I just exited. Let's go back in again. Oh, okay, so let's go into graphics. Okay, so we're in high graphics quality. We don't have adaptive turned on, right? That might be something you could try if you're not getting the frame rates that you want. So this game gives us a lot of tools to play with. Anti-aliasing and shadows usually will cost you. We're going to turn that down. You know what? I think it'd be better if we just used a built-in setting to try out first. Boy, I'll tell you what, you have to be right on these arrows to make this work. And it doesn't wrap around either. Okay, let's go down to medium. Yes? Ugh. I hate when I have to restart the game. All right, so we're going to restart the game. And we're going to see what that might buy us. So, really, you know, people who are coming from a console, right? One of the beauties of consoles is that a console's a console's a console. And you are playing, the developers have an opportunity to make these games, preload shaders, and do all that stuff because every single machine is exactly the same. Now, in the DEC's case, yes, every single machine is the same, but we're playing games that are built to be dynamic across a wide fleet of different types of PCs, types of graphics cards. So while the DEC is the same, these games are built with the understanding that they're going to be run on diverse systems. So that's why we have to go through nonsense like this. As PC gamers, right, of which you are now, if you came from the console days, the console scene, and you're now officially a PC gamer with a DEC, you're going to have to learn to. We deal with this on the PC all the time. This is you know, message of the day. And to some people that's annoying. For other people, they actually like it. There's an advantage. If you're playing on a console and the developers decide that they're going to trade anti-aliasing for resolution or whatever to make the game run well, you as the player don't have that option, usually speaking. You don't get to choose what to turn off or what to turn back on based on what you find important. Maybe you love shadows. Shadows make the game for you. Well, with PC gaming, you do have the opportunity to better change or reduce what you don't care about and increase what you do care about. So I know that that's sometimes that's a little solace, but I assure you that you'll get in a groove where this stuff just becomes second nature. You load the game, you hit the options, hit the graphics, blah, 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 blink, 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 you're done. And you'll understand over time, sort of almost from a generational standpoint, what these games need to perform well. Okay, hurry up, meow. I assure you, on the PC, on a real, a full-size desktop, it still takes that long to load these games. It's crazy. All right, here we go. All right, so now we're in medium, and I'm just sort of looking around here, taking it all in. All right, so let's take a look. So we're running over let's run over some new area again, right? Look at that. That does look pretty good, doesn't it? I mean, overall, that looks pretty good. We're talking about running on a little handheld. All right, so now, see, we're hitting the cacher nonsense again. The shader nonsense for the caches. We're gonna go down here, right? And now we're gonna start treading over old territory. So you don't want to base your tweaking on shader compiling, right? You want to go over the same areas again and again, or at least twice. And now we're seeing a good frame rate representation, about 48. So based on the fact that we're able to sustain over 40 frames per second, now we have the option to go in, shut our refresh rate down to 40, and knock down our frame rate to 40. This should present us with an overall stability in the frame rate, and it will give us hopefully a little better battery profile. And as you can see, it looks pretty good. I mean, we were running between 40 and 50, so we're losing a handful of frames. But overall, this is playable, I think. Now, we did see we had a little bit of frame droppage there. Again, we're trotting into unknown areas, so that's something we have to put up with. And it varies from game to game, right? So now we're down on the beach that we weren't at before. So these things go away, though, once you've explored the area. It's the crazy things that we deal with. All right, but you can see it looks good. I would say that this looks appropriate. So I would say medium settings, you know, borderless window, medium settings, and lock it down. 40/40. Call it a day. Looks great. Looks great. Thanks, Cassandra. You may go now. All right. So I think we have one more game to look at. So let's just go ahead and dunk out of here. And let's take a look at The Crew. Now, I've played Odyssey and Far Cry 6 to the ends, but I think I got The Crew as part of a bundle or something. Stop it. Stop showing me ads. All right. Did that even launch? I'm not even sure it launched. I hate that. Too busy showing me ads. Launch my game. All right. Well, just to make sure. Okay, good. So I'm not familiar with this game at all. I mean, I think I booted up originally just to test it to make sure it was running before we did this video. Now you might have thought that the game just crashed, but it didn't. It's still running in the background. This launcher, though, is very insistent to be seen. And that's why, like on the BattleNet launcher, right, you'll want to have the BattleNet launcher close when it launches a game. I could not find an option for this. We're going to go looking for it again at the end of this video. But it's still launching that in the background, but you can't really tell. I'm trying to get rid of this window. But yeah, so the game was launching. So you just have to be patient sometimes. Okay, here we go. Blah, blah, blah. Don't have a seizure while you're watching this. Okay, cool. So this is an older title, which is one of the reasons I chose it. A lot of people, there's that overlay again. We got to get rid of that. A lot of people have asked about older games, right? Because older games are cheap. So it's like, hey, can you check out, you know, Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2? I'm just like, dude, how about something that came out like in this decade? But it's like, no, I mean, listen, it takes all, you know, everyone has a different passion here. And again, like I said, these games are cheap, right? I don't know what The Crew's running for, but I guarantee it's pretty cheap. All right, so I did play a little bit just to see how it looked, but I'm going to play a different mission. And so we will see if the shader nonsense happens with this game. It doesn't happen with all games. Thank you. Thank you for my free content. By the way, these games are, every game that you're seeing, of course, is stored on my micro SD card. 1 terabyte SanDisk, 1 terabyte Ultra. So if you're wondering about load speeds, load times. So I realized I forgot to turn off my 40 hertz refresh rate and my frame limiter. So let's get all these turned back off. Now we go. Here we go. Older game. It shouldn't have been looking like that. Here we go. Now we've got it. All right. Well, look at this. We're getting 60, 58, 60. I'm not seeing, yeah, I'm busy looking at the thing up there instead of driving. So yeah, I mean,
No.
this looks good. I haven't even gone into the settings or anything. And this is going to look great on the Steam Deck screen. It doesn't look super great here. And I'm sure we could go in and monkey with it. I mean, we got some frames to spare if we're only interested in 40 frames per second. But yeah, I'm not seeing any, you know, shader caching going on or anything like that. It's running actually pretty silky smooth, and it's pulling what, 16? I don't know what it's pulling. I have it plugged in, so I don't want to unplug it.
We found backdoors into these data stations.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, this plays well. I mean, we could, listen, we can go in and look at the options and monkey with the graphics and maybe turn it up a little bit. We've got some frame rate to spare here. It looks like it's locked down to 60. I'm willing to bet that we could get it above 60 and then start monkeying with the, we can start monkeying with the settings and flipping the graphics up and going to a higher quality, blah, 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 and making this look better. I'm trying to get out of this game. Now, the nice thing is you know, I don't care about this game or saving it, so I can just exit out. I can do it the hard way, or should I say the easy way, and drop out of the game. Well, there you go. We looked at 3 Ubisoft games. We looked at how to set the client up. If I was going to do anything else at the end of this video, I would say let's go back into the Ubisoft client and see if we can get rid of the overlay. Let's see if we can force the client to shut down as you launch the games. That'd be great. So let's go back in there and see if we can do any options monkeying around with. All right, so we're back in the Ubisoft Connect client. And let's take a look at our settings. Okay, here we go. Cloud sync. Yeah, no notifications, please, please. Oh, there we go. Get rid of the overlay. Game invites. I don't want any of that nonsense. Pause when downloading. Not seeing what I was hoping for here. I can get rid of these notifications. I don't want to be interrupted when I'm playing. Now, listen, if you play multiplayer games, obviously you want to leave these things on, but okay. Man, I am just yeah, let me start on my games page. That's good. Okay. So here's something fun. We can change the default game installation. So the C program files is actually in the Proton folder. We can set it to my SD card, right? So you saw that I had all of them installed under this, oops, not emulation, you monkey. Go back, high C's, there we go. And you go to Uplay, all my games are installed under here. Let's set this to my default install location. Then I don't have to do anything funky the next time. Great. Yeah, you can put the installer cache in there. Perfect. All right. Well, this looks pretty good. I mean, we couldn't get the locker here to close when it launches. The launcher to close when it launches. I mean, we've done what we can. And I mean, we can play these games. So let's get out of here. Again, we're going to do it the easy way. And that's it. Well, listen, I hope you enjoyed looking at how to get Ubisoft Connect working. If you have any questions, I'm pretty active on Reddit at the r/Steam Deck subreddit. Of course, leave comments here, like, subscribe. You guys know what to do. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.